I was lying on the sofa, my head resting on Stephen's lap as we scrolled through our phones. Everything felt calm, easy, until he suddenly said, "Babe, I might step out this weekend. The guys want us to chill, our usual routine." "Stephen," I called softly, "what if we prank them?" Cut to Stephen frowning and confused. "Prank them? Why?" Cut back to her smirking. "Just a silly thought, but what if we test their hearts? Invite them over for dinner. In the middle of it, you faint. We'll rush you to the hospital, and my brother will play doctor. Tell them you need 35 million to survive." The next evening, they came over. Laughter filled the house, the kind that makes neighbors jealous. Then, halfway through the meal, Stephen grabbed his chest and fell. We rushed into the hospital. My brother, dressed as a doctor, played his part perfectly.
"Madame," he said gravely, "your husband developed some very complicated issues and needs urgent surgery. It will cost about 35 million naira.
And that's when we found out who truly stood with Stephen. The room went quiet. Too quiet. His friends exchanged looks, cleared their throats. Then one of them spoke.
"Don't worry, Dinma," they said. "By tomorrow morning, we'll bring the money." They left, but the next morning, no one showed.
By the third day, I grew uneasy. Their phones were switched off. Stephen stared at the wall, disbelief written on his face. These are my brothers, my friends. The next morning, I set out for Damien's house. Phone in my bag, recorder on. I needed the truth. "Dinma," he said smoothly, "I will help. I'll even double it, but on one condition." My heart froze. His eyes darkened. "If you are ready to go down with me tonight." "You're married, Damien. Stephen is your friend." He laughed. "Compassion? That is old school. Decide what you want." My body trembled with disgust. I stormed out before he could come closer. The recorder was still running. James' house was the next. James' compound was my next stop. His gate man smiled warmly when I arrived. But just as I tried to walk in, he blocked the way. "Sorry, madam, but my oga know the house na." I frowned. His cars were right there. And then James himself appeared. He opened the back seat, picked something, and disappeared inside again like a thief avoiding light. That was the moment it clicked. James was hiding from me. My husband's so-called brother, too cowardly to face me. The last house was Daniel's, Stephen's tightest friend, the one he trusted the most. I told myself this would be different. The elderly gateman recognized me instantly. "Ah, Madame Dinwa, welcome or welcome." He opened the gate wide. I walked in just as Daniel stepped out, car keys in hand. Our eyes met, and instantly his face hardened. His tone turned sharp, vicious. "Are you stupid? Who told you to open the gate for her? Didn't I warn you?" I froze. "Daniel, please." "Shut up," he barked. "Don't you ever set foot in my compound again? When your husband was behaving like he was God, where were you? Now karma is dealing with him, and you're here to beg me? Never, over my body." My lips trembled. "But you were his brother." "Brother?" He spat on the ground. I'm glad life is humbling him. Billionaire or not, death levels everybody. I will never waste my 35 million on that pompous ex-friend. Let him go and stop disturbing my life. He jumped into his car and sped off, the wind slapping my face as he vanished. The gate man stood still, stunned. "Ah, people deo, no brother in the jungle. No brother in the jungle at all." He turned to me quickly, eyes full of guilt. "Madam, abeg no vex. I no know say oga fit talk like that. I'm sorry o." I couldn't speak. My chest ached. I turned and headed for the gate, each step heavier than the last.
Madam Dinma, wait! I turned, wiping my tears. The old man rushed into his tiny room and came back with a small bundle of money. He pressed it gently into my hands.
It's 50,000 naira. I no say no reach anything close to 35 million, but abeg, dey calm. I no know the full story, but I know say dey important. No worry, God go send true helper for una.
I blinked. Of all people, a gate man showing me the kindness my husband's friends refused to give. Why are you giving me this? He sighed.
Madam, your husband gets good heart. The tips wey he dey give me sometimes pass my salary. If no be family matter wey chop my money, I forgive more. But this one, na my last card. And if anybody deserve am, na Oga Stephen.
Tears filled my eyes. I held his hand. Thank you, Emeka. God will bless you. He nodded.
Go see Oga. Tell am say make he no give up.
And as I walked out of the gate clutching that small bundle, it felt heavier than gold. Not because of the money, but because of what it represented. Sometimes kindness comes from where you least expect it. And that day, it came from a gate man named Emeka. By the time I returned to the hospital, Stephen was pacing restlessly in the hallway. The worry in his eyes softened the moment he saw me.
Dinma, he whispered, please tell me they didn't disappoint. I sat beside him, gathered my breath, and told him everything. How Damien asked me to go down with him, how James pretended not to be home, how Daniel shouted at me, insulted me, and how the only person who showed kindness was Emeka, the gateman who gave me his last 50,000 naira.
As I spoke, Stephen's face darkened, the hurt sinking deeper. No, it can't be, he murmured. Damien? Daniel? James? My own brothers? I reached into my bag, quietly pulled out my phone, and pressed play. One by one, their voices filled the room. Damien's request, James's cowardly excuses, Daniel's venom, his laughter mocking Stephen's downfall. Stephen froze. The only sound was the soft hum of the hospital air conditioner. Then, slowly, disbelief hardened into cold, silent anger. He replayed Daniel's words and let out a bitter laugh. So this is what brotherhood means to them. He stood, his voice calm but loaded with resolve. Dinma, I made them. Now I'll unmake them. The next morning, Stephen checked out of the hospital. Within days, he called his lawyer. And by the end of the week, chaos had already begun. James arrived first, sweating, forcing a smile. Stephen, my brother, it was all a misunderstanding. Stephen leaned back, arms crossed. Overwhelmed enough to hide behind your gate man? His smile died instantly. Then came Daniel, loud as always, pretending nothing happened. My guy, you know me nah, I just a joke. Stephen stared until the man began to fidget. If betrayal was a joke, Daniel, you just told the best one. One by one, they all came. Excuses, fake tears, tiny gifts. But Stephen was unmoved. He pulled out his 60% stake from each of their companies, and with that single move, their power collapsed. A week later, Stephen told me he wanted to visit Emeka. We drove back to that same compound, but this time, I walked in with my head high. Emeka nearly fell to his knees. Oga Stephen, Madam Dinma, God done do am. You're well again. Stephen placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. You were the only one who acted like a brother when others failed. He handed Emeka an envelope, inside a house document and an appointment letter. From today, Stephen said, you're the new manager at one of my companies. Your weekly salary is 500,000 naira, and it will grow. Emeka broke down in tears. God bless you, sir. God bless you and madame. I wiped my eyes quietly. That evening, as Stephen and I sat on the balcony, the sun melting into gold across the city skyline, he exhaled deeply. Dinma, God bless me with a wise woman. If this had been real, I don't know what I would have done. Money can buy loyalty, but it cannot buy love. At least now I know who truly stands with me. I held his hand gently, and sometimes I whispered, loyalty comes from the most unexpected places. He smiled, and just like that, the chapter of false brothers ended, not with revenge, but with revelation. Because sometimes you don't need to lose everything to find the truth. You just need to pretend you did.